Hola. Bien.
Hello, good morning. Thanks for coming, first of all. This is a difficult time right before lunch, but I am glad that this was interesting enough for you to come. Our talk, as the title says, is going to tell you how in BBVA we're trying to create a new security paradigm. So it's about giving developers security. And we want to look at the problem we faced and our approach, and our talk will deal with the solution we've come up with. My name is Ernesto Bethercourt. I am the product owner of Chimera in I4S. We're part of the group BBVA, and my colega Javi Sanchez Punto, Javi, will make the introduction to the first part of the talk. Can you hear me? Okay, first of all, hello, thanks for coming. It is a privilege to participate in the Rooted, and I hope I don't bore you. For those of you who are dying to get into the technical part, I'll ask you to be patient because I think it's interesting to have the context that we're moving in and the complexity of what we're aiming to do to give as much value as there is to what we will tell you later on. So where do we come from in the context and our customers? We come from a world in which somebody went with their they went to the bank to update their card, and then we moved on to the bank teller or to the automatic teller machine, and then we moved on to a world where we did that through internet. But now what we have, the situation we have is that everybody can operate with mobile phones, with smartphones, and that's even the case for my father or for my grandfather. And how does that change the situation for us? Well, we get a lot more transactions, and you'd think, well, that's great. That means more money. But if you look into what's happening, you realize that not all transactions generate income. Most of them are actually just to look at the balance, or just it's about information. So that gives us a lot more of a bigger burden without any profit, and that endangers our in computer infrastructure. And then regarding the environment, we used to come to live in a world in which we knew our competitors, and in the current world we are not. The fintechs have come around, and we find ourselves in a new situation that we cannot control, because these fintech companies can make daily releases. They have an incredible productivity, and that's not all. They have a time to market of any idea for a week, of just weeks, and we are not ready to compete with them. Why? Because we work for a typical company that has worked with IT for years. We have monolithic applications. We have data all over the place, with processing cycles that are incredibly slow, that eat up most of the day, and we have little ability to use advanced intelligence tools. And we put this in a global context. We find that different geographies have different technologies, and that entails a lot of cost. And linked to the current situation that I've described means that the model is not viable, and therefore this is the current situation. We are not doing things because we have our CEO talking with another CEO, and that they're saying, I'm computing in the cloud, and it's great. But the situation is that it's either we change, or the studies are saying that the company will no longer be viable. So what should we do? We have to change. And the good thing is that we know how we have to change, but not only from the technological viewpoint. Everything starts with a change in attitude or mindset. It's not about calling this company for them to come and do the job for us, but this is about talent and in-house talent. It's about changing the way we think it's no longer enough scripting tasks that I can move on. We have to have an end-to-end automation, and the architecture process have to follow DevOps paradigms where you integrate the test, and so it's a whole round approach, and we have to reuse code. Let's stop doing the same thing over and over. And all of that through API. We have to abstract the complexity in the back end and be able to provide information for our customers in the best possible way. And all of that working in communities, because the model of I do the job and you use it doesn't work. We have to work together. So the change is also based on a technological change. We're building the Ether platform that, as we say here, is a global banking platform which allows developers to easily build, deploy, and operate banking devices of any kind of leveraging cloud. So Ether is a global platform because we used to do an architecture in one of the countries, and then we would fit that architecture to the next country the best we could. But that doesn't work. What do we have now? We have a hybrid cloud to be able to balance our workload based on public or private cloud according to cost. And as we've said, it has to be automated as well. We do not want black boxes. We want to use the open source working model, and our main customer is the developer. And finally, we have to decouple the business architecture, the business logic from the architectures to be able to change in a faster and more agile way. So from the viewpoint of security, what are we facing to? I love this slide because I think it conveys very truthfully my day-to-day. We have bare metal, the operating system, we have the infrastructure, then the operating system, then the platforms, and ongoing intervention, runtime, the security layer. It's crazy. Our job is crazy, but it's a lot of fun. Well, that's my view of it, because in all of these layers, we also have diverse technologies, and I believe that the challenge is fascinating. I don't know if many of you find yourselves in this situation, but for me, it's a beautiful challenge. So how are we facing this in BBVA from the viewpoint of security? One of the main components that we have is SECAS. Last year it was mentioned, so I won't talk much about it, where one of the main paradigms is to have security embedded and offering it as a service. But what do we really have from the viewpoint of secure development? Working with Ernesto, I was saying to him, the big change, what we need is for people to be informed of what is it that they have to do, because people don't do things wrong because they enjoy doing it. They don't make things insecure because they enjoy doing that. The problem is that we do not give them the needed information, and when we do, we give it to them late, because it's the developers have to give to something to deliver something to production, and in the last step the security tells them they cannot use that. And so they need to have that information earlier. They will have a better life and we will work better. And this is not about adding technologies, but it's about added value to the selected tools. And finally, security also must be as a service. Okay. As Javi was saying, what we want to do from SECAS, our goal was to meet all of our goals for it to be automated and easy to use, and to focus on developers and to facilitate the integration of security in their job. That's where we start. It's important to take something else into account. to develop good software should allow us to be very fast and have a lot of quality because it allows us to change when the business changes and develop new things in a fast way. We need to do that as a bank because of the context that Javi has described. And quality, the better the code in terms of development and in terms of security, the easier it will be to maintain. So if we focus on the real context that we're talking about, we have a developer ecosystem that in and with Ether and in a continuously integrated global cloud platform. We're talking about 12,000 developers in BBVA working on a common cloud age. So it's a huge challenge. So we move at this developer's speed. We try to make things fast, or so we do we use the plan A, the traditional plan A? We are at the end of the process and we stop things that cannot be accepted, or we pick up their speed and move the way they do. So that's what we mean when we say shift left, as in intervening earlier in the process. If we're going to work with, the developers are going to be using cloud platforms are doing fast releases, so we are not the first ones who face up to this problem. What's in the market? So the first thing we did was to take a look at that, and we came across many interesting projects and terms. We particularly like this one, the OWASP, which was an AppSec pipeline project that I will explain later on, and another initiative called DevSecOps, which is about from security people who have stumbled upon the same block, and they said we cannot keep doing security in the same way, but it has to be security delivered as code. We have to be the coach and to make sure that developers have security in their day-to-day activities. And as we were working, other initiatives came up, such as Grapheas, which is a Google initiative, which basically is a metadata API, because they said it doesn't make sense that all products and security solutions represent their vulnerabilities the way they want. We have to standardize this information beyond the existing standards already. And we are participating with them in this initiative because we believe it is interesting to share that experience. If we go quickly about what the OWASP pilot and what they propose to us, they talk about a security pipeline. That means at some point of your development cycle or in the PyLabs DevOps, you generate a new security pipeline. And the first step is to do things of the application, see how insecure it's been in the past, etc. And then we ran a battery of tests, static code, black box, and with the information you generate from those tests, you generate actions, remedial actions, risk management, reporting, that sort of thing. So, but if we go back to our context, we said, okay, that's all very interesting, this OWASP proposal. How do we apply this? And we have two options once more. As a security architecture, we give them a catalog of tools and lots of scripts, etc. You download this, but for 12,000 developers, we try to manage that, or to help them do this, or we try to develop a simple, easy-to-use product. And I like Apple in that way because they give you a product that naive users and expert users can use. It's really standard. It's very easy to to use, and it works very well for them. So we decided to develop the product because otherwise I wouldn't be here, and that's how we came up with the idea of Chimera. So Chimera is a product that tries to solve this situation. And what were our goals within Chimera? To be able to solve the points that we had given ourselves as a security architecture. First of all, we want to deliver services that developers can use in a simple way, in an autonomous way, so that they are not dependent on anybody else. They can say, I want to do code review, and they can do it in the most simple way, possible simple way for them. But we work in security, and we wanted those services to be usable by the security area, because a code review that the developer can do is the same code review that is going to be done by the security department when they act as policemen to make sure that something works. So that's the first goal, really, to have those two front lines, developers and security. The second goal, taking the OWASP metaphor, to have a number of services of each one of the parts of the DevOps cycle, from the triage, the testing, the delivery of security teams in the bank, and automatic provisioning for security. This in an automatic way. We want it to be transparent for the developer, easy to use, but that we do not depend on having to grow in terms of people, of staff, because that's not manageable. So what was the proposal in terms of product? We have three goals here. Abstraction of security solution. There are many solutions that can be used. Many were developed for this world and some not, but even the ones that were thought out for this world, the review of Docker images, Claire, Twistlock, and Aqua. Some are open source and some are from vendors, but we do not want to stick up to just one, but we want that in the future, if one of them delivers more value, that we can change that, and that is transparent for the developers. So we use them when they're useful. We gain time, and we test the functionalities. And our internal customers, our developers, they only know Chimera. They know that there is an API where they can ask for a review of the Docker images, and Chimera will respond always in the same way. And if I change Claire by Twistlock or Aqua, they won't even notice. And I can actually pick and choose from the three, and thus add value. Many of these solutions have very interesting solutions. For instance, Twistlock is very good for containers, but not so much for images. The model is not so much focused on images, and there are some shortcomings. So we improved what Twistlock gave us. We standardized that, and we added value, bringing information from different layers, that sort of thing. And the best thing is the orchestration part. And in that part, for instance, choosing between these solutions, for instance, in an ambient, which is a branch of feature. And if we know that, you can use Clerk. I provide an automatic feedback, and then there is a functionality that will come to function, will become a function. Then I might do a more thorough test, or I add policies to provide information to the developers as to whether that part, once it's gone through audit, is going to be deployable in a platform. So 3 points. 1, solution abstraction, add value, and orchestration. To a large extent, this new model of Chimera we've been working on for 6-8 months, trying to deliver each and every one of these services. And in these 6 months, we've achieved what we show here. We have 1 abstraction layer. We have 2 available services for the developers. And we are finishing up the 3rd one. And we have these tools already integrated. Some are more mature, some are less mature, some we're still testing. So you have to keep in mind that we're talking about 12,000 developers. Each time they call, I realize that it has to escalate well, it has to run well. But beyond that, because in BBVA we're working as a large team, we even have developers from the people from BBVA labs that we are thinking of integrating within Chimera, because Dick Tracy, for instance, that was a software to analyze dependencies.
Ese tipo de cosas.
To look for vulnerabilities in these things. That was quite interesting. Our aim is that with the same philosophy we deliver that through Chimera. And even in the same architecture area, we've done some one-off developments that we aim to integrate within Chimera. So we're not only just destroying things, we're also trying to avail of the time and talent we have by doing additional things. Okay? So regarding explaining how we do it in detail, I'd like to explain how we do it. What are we doing for the development and security teams? One of the most mature services we have is the image review service. So we have a API, and from your pipeline, manually from the Chimera front end, or from any method, you call us and you ask us to review a Docker image. Here is the details. So what do we do in Chimera? We tell Twistlock, hey, give me the information about the vulnerabilities of this tool. Twistlock looks for that in the registry. Here the registry is set up with Artifactory, and I'm revealing this information because it's quite important. And we have two options. Either we apply this information to the developer and they can see it on their pipeline, or they use it on the Chimera console or on any other place when they want to share the information. So we try to make this easy for developers because we have different maturity levels in the bank. Among the 12,000 developers we have different levels. Some they're obviously beginners and some experts, people who are beginning to Jenkins, do not know how to do things. We have a SDK, where you import the Jenkins, you transfer the image parameters, and with that, they do all the magic of calling Chimera and doing the return. And the part below is library to make developers' lives easier. And here there are different libraries that are simple to use. This is a library that with the equipment of the team that is doing that functions, they use ours below. So the aim is that using Chimera should be very easy. And what do we deliver? We deliver a vulnerability report. That's the main thing. What for the early feedback that Javi was mentioning, so that you know that if you're going to use an image that has 226 vulnerabilities, you're doing badly and you need to correct it and work on that. As a developer, you may choose not to do it. What's the thing here? When you deploy that image in a certain environment, that's going to be rejected. So what do we do here to deliver value above Twistlock? We give information on how that image will be assessed when it's going to be flagged. And you may deploy it in one or other environment, and we say it simply. And we say we cannot deploy it because the policy says that you need certain critical vulnerabilities and you have many more. So make it simple. This information may be checked in Chimera, in your pipeline, because we put everything on JSON with this information. You may also see that on the Vector console. As Javi mentioned earlier, the aim of Vector is for the developers use it as a single console with all the information, and this information can be checked there. On the other hand, we have security. And what do we do here? We have a security guide checking every image that is scanned every so often. Well, we don't do that. We try to have automated processes. We don't need to hire so many security teams for that review. We do it automatically. So what are we doing now? What's our proposal? We're going to have a stamp on images saying it's been reviewed, it's got this information, and these are the recommendations. They may or may not be deployed in these environments, and the platform where this is deployed automatically should validate those properties and know whether that can be done. How? It will depend on the platform. But how are we thinking of that seal, of that stamp? We're using a function of Artifactory because we can actually add properties to the artifacts. They call them properties, and that's a metadata associated to the artifact. And what are we doing here? That security seal, we're using a token job. That's a JSON format token that is signed, and we're availing of the fact that the token job has different claims that eventually are just variables, standard variables, and any authorizer who knows how to use a job library, and there are loads in different languages, they'll be able to validate things, the most basic things. And which sort of claims? Well, we have the audience and even the platform, and we can put some depending on the platform. We have expiry dates, the creation date, the reason of the token or the stamp, because there may be some automated analysis, such as that a security team or business team says, well, I need to deploy that image. I need to override the policies you applied. And we say, okay, so this stamp has a okay, because someone said you need to do override. And then we have certain private claims, and this is where magic happens regarding security. The claims where we put the policy information. So for this environment you have OK, or for this other one KO. Or maybe everything is OK if we have no vulnerabilities, and we even give information on the amount of vulnerabilities, because if the tool where we deploy has more complex policies, they can avail of this. OK? Well, the good thing about this is that they came up with this. We worked as a team with the rest of our colleagues, and that's something we thought of internally when we talked to Google with the Graphias project. We're very well aligned, and they actually asked us about how we did it to transfer the information. Well, the Google people have what they call annotations in the Graphias project to sign the metadata that is being left in that storage. When we mentioned this idea, they thought it was very interesting. Right now, they're signing with GPG keys. Can you do that? Yes. And how do I know that that belongs to the image? Because the subject in the job is associated to a DL image of the Docker, which is a shard that doesn't change. So we know that the image we review with that shard is the one that is deployed. And the deployment platform has to validate this. So this is what we did. And let's try to do a live demo. I think we have a bit of time. Otherwise, we'll just play the video as a B plan.
Un segundo. Ya te está arriba. Vamos a ver qué tal va. Tenemos conexión para ver.
So I think we're connected. Great, so I'm going to show how the API launch would happen via Chimera. Just looking for the mouse. Okay. So first of all, Chimera is authenticated. So we first authenticate to call the API. And the next important bit, what do we send Chimera? We have the concept of projects, and we have projects per each team and functionality the concepts. And does this need to be associated to something particular? No. When you identify it, I know it's something yours. And why do we do this for? So that whenever you deliver the information, you should be authorized to check it and see different things on the front end. So first of all, I create a project. Great, it's been created. And with that, which in the case of Ether, as we were saying, the Ether console will do it, saying there's a new project in the bank. This is it, with this identifier. We know which one it is, and it's a standard. And these are the users, the developers, the admin. And And once we get that information, we know it exists. Later on, the developers simply send scanning vulnerabilities requests. We see the image, the project that review is associated to, and with that we may give an answer. I'll try to show it a bit better. And here we're scanning this image. We show the status. Sometimes if there's a big load, it may be delayed. You can do polling even. And I'll just try to show you something else. You know, demo lives are this way. That's what happens when you go live. Okay, so let's do this. So there's nothing there. The scan I've just done. The scan has just been launched. I'm gonna refresh the page, and now it's on the file. And now it cannot be seen well. I'll just zoom in. So we have sent the image to be reviewed. We have the tag. We have the send. We have the stamp and the seal. And from the front end, we may even copy the token that we've just mentioned. We can see the expiry date and so on. But the most important thing is to see the report. We see the vulnerabilities, the policies. We sort them out by specification. I may see how I'm doing in each environment and which medium is it working and which one it isn't. And here in the Postman, I can see that just like I saw it in the front end, I can see the report here. And here I get the vulnerabilities report. We have all the information requested. And we have recommendations, the detail of how many there are, the amount of vulnerabilities, and their details. Why? Because you can depict this any way you want, with the phrase you want. And in your pipeline, you may use this information. When you call this pipeline, if you have a mature team, you may say what it is. We just want to give it feedback. If you are some mature team, you feel comfortable blocking your pipeline, you can avail of this information and do that. How are we doing time-wise? Okay? Right. So, another thing that we try to do is to try to have it on the Jenkins library. Okay. I think that my password is stored here. Right. Just trying to work with this mouse. I think this is it. Still having problems with the mouse, but let's zoom in. We'll see the library with the parameters that we need. And if we go to the end, we can see the image name, the ID, and here you may import this library wherever you want in your Jenkins, have it as another step and run it. And there you get the output. Okay. And here it shows that we're reviewing this image.
Ya, que es la imagen, mandé a revisar la misma imagen.
Oh, so actually send the same image to be reviewed. That's right. So it's not connected. Okay. Well, if the demo worked well, you just need to scan and you'll be ready. And there's something important here. I'm running out of time and the demo is not working quite well due to the mouse. If you view the stamp that I'd like to show you to see how crazy this is, we can see it here on the stamp analyzer. Here you see the information results, and eventually what it says is a token job with an expiry date, the sharp, who are we giving it to, the information amount, and we can actually validate this. We also have a functionality to integrate it on the Jenkins to validate these stamps with code. So let me check whether I can see it. And basically this is a mini library where I validated this stamp. They ask for which environment, I send the information of who is it for, and there are different validations. So there it shows whether it's good for the image I want, which is that subject there, whether it can be deployed, whether it can be deployed for the environment, whether the expiry date is okay. And given this here, if I change any value, for example, if I change the environment does not be in development but it be in production, it says no, you cannot deliver it. We have JSON there, it says deploy false. Okay, so the JSON is up there saying, well, the expiry date is okay, the environment is KO because in production you cannot deploy that, which is right, you validate in the stamp, and the issue date is okay. So it gives you all the functionalities it can, so the developers and platforms who are going to use this functionality can do so.
Importante, nosotros estamos trabajando para los...
And we're actually working for the final letter developers and the users. There are also developers, and we try to make it as simple as possible. As I was saying earlier, we have the service, and also the code review service is a bit less mature. That's why I don't dare show you today. We're actually beginning to give security feedback regarding the code, so that developers do not just look at the image build with so many vulnerabilities regarding the library amount, but also at code level we can look at them and say, okay, here you have a SQL injection in your code. That's in general terms. I don't know whether you like to add anything. Well, regarding the secrets you mentioned earlier, there's something quite cool there, yeah. We have these secrets. I think that the guys hidden around here, we're trying to review their repositories to not have sensitive information or secrets, so that at audit level we don't see information that is not in the repository. So we aim to deliver information in each stage of the development cycle, so that developers have all the feedback that may be necessary, so they're used to have it and act on it. And when we automate this, and someone from security is not saying don't come, this is even more necessary to work on this, even for developers. So in general terms, before we run out of time, this is everything we want to tell you about. And we have a long way ahead. We're inventing things, doing different things that are not in the market, and if you have any question or any suggestion, please let us know. Thank you. Javi, thank you.
¿Preguntas?
Are there any questions? Okay. So there are a couple of questions over here. So let's begin here, because we are closer. Hi. In the future, are you going to release this? Are you planning to release it as open source? Well, we love to do so. In fact, Labs is open source and Dig Trace is in the BBVA repository. For Chimera, we need to talk to the legal area of the bank. Well, we have an open source philosophy, but we work for a bank that is undergoing a change. So we need to go through different maturity stages, but our aim is to do something that we may release. Even doing advertisement, the guys from the team have availed of their knowledge and we have done very interesting things. And even in BBVA, some external people are availing of this and we're trying to create open source tools. But yes, it's good to know that there's some interest in this. Hi. First of all, congratulations. The tool is very interesting and I really like it. I'd like to ask about the false positives. In my experience with these tools, they release loads of false positives. And how do you manage this in Chimera? Well, regarding functionality in Chimera, right now, we have the possibility of, as a developer or as admin, we haven't yet defined the role that needs to do it, but in governance, we are working on that, on a more bureaucratic level. But we like to, we already have the functionality of marking that this is a false positive. Regarding the product for Chimera, ideally, in the first stage, for feedback and so on, the developer has a certainty of whether it's a false positive. And then at bank level, we have the DAV team, which is the user of the tool. Yes, the security team will define those rules and they'll be able to work with the ethical hacking and the securities obligation of the bank to integrate it within this process so that this is automated. And in fact, that's the other big side of my security client. My aim with the security team is that whenever they get these products to validate it in the audit and review all the false positives, they do it with as few errors as possible, so that they may focus on reviewing one-off things that may be in that software. Even that I deliver to Chimera all the reviews that have been done with that project, how it evolved, and how the amount of vulnerabilities of a certain part decreased. So they may focus on those things, so that we may have a history of the product. Even analytics, because we have it as MVP, one of the things we like to do is that we know this project has certain statistics, because it's recurrent, regarding the amount of times that we get a library as vulnerable. And that blue team reviews that that library has already been taken out. So we're just trying to simplify the final security team's work. We aim to give feedback to the developers to make things simpler and also to scale the security teams. And it's just impossible, numerically speaking, to escalate a security team to serve or care for 12,000 developers. So that good team should be able to be much more productive in the process, much more focused. Any other question? Then you can go for lunch, I guess. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Volvemos sobre las 3:30.
Holding back the years, thinking of the fear I've had so long.